Hey guys, good afternoon. Thank you for being patient with me. I know that I posted on the page yesterday that I was going to make a video about what the recovery from codependency looks like. I know we talked about codependency for a brief period in my personal story in one of my previous videos, but I don't feel like I really touched on the actual healing process and that word that we talked about, detachment. So that's what that video is going to look like today, and it's going to go into a little bit more depth about how codependency is derived and where it comes from and how we develop it and things like that. With that being said, I want to say, for anyone who didn't watch the first video, but not by textbook definition, I'm going to put things kind of in layman's terms, how I understand them. Again, I am not a mental health professional. I am not a therapist. I'm not a counselor, but I am in recovery from codependency and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So I do have a little bit of experience, strength, and hope for people that are struggling and for people that want to seek out recovery from those things. So with that being said, what codependency is it's a pretty heavy reliance on someone who is either emotionally available, struggling with their own mental health issues, addictions, or alcoholism. And what we do as codependent people is that we rely on them for our needs as well as kind of enabling their behavior. So what that can look like is if you are in a relationship with an addict or someone with severe mental illness that acts out, when they are faced with consequences for their actions, for whether that be a direct result of using or a direct result of not taking their medications the way they should, such as getting arrested or having problems at school or their job, what we do typically, as codependents, we will bail them out of those situations. We'll call their jobs. We'll post bail. We will put money on their commissary accounts. We'll let them keep their stuff at our house while they're, locked up. What those things do for that individual is it prevents them from hitting a bottom, per se. It prevents them of fully going through the consequences of a direct result of their behaviors. And we as the codependent, I feel do that because what happens if they are made to go through these consequences? We may lose them for a period of time due to these consequences, and who are we going to depend on? So that is where codependency is a sickness. No normal person in their right mind would bail someone out of jail when they went and robbed a Best Buy. Or even I have seen codependent people bail people out of jail when they have robbed their own family members or assaulted their own family members. I have seen, women in domestic violence situations, me being one of those in the past, evoke marital spousal rights so the person that beat them up doesn't go to prison or jail. I mean, that is kind of sick. Now in my recovery, if anybody put their hands on me or stole my shit, I would totally press charges. I would totally let that person, suffer the consequences. And even so, I have family members, that are addicts. My son's father's an addict. I would not bail him out of jail today. I am fully aware of what I have done in my past as a codependent and how my behaviors in my codependency actually did not help at all. So the first thing in recovery is realizing and admitting that you have a problem. So you have to admit it. You have to realize it. You have to get out of denial. That's the first thing. And then you kind of have to surrender your power to something greater than yourself. And more of that can be explored in a different video, but realizing and admitting that, what you're doing is wrong is really like the first step. And then, as I said, surrendering. So in my personal journey, I know I've said it before, I was at the end of my rope. I was really sad. I was like in a really dark place. I don't know if I didn't love myself. I wouldn't say that, but I wasn't in a situation where I could show myself love because I was so focused on the individual that I was codependent on. So I wasn't taking care of myself properly. Like, I was missing work. I was messing up at work. I, didn't really care. It was just like a depression. And it got so bad that, I had to surrender. Like, I had to look to something greater than myself to pull me out of that. And I know that I said in one of my videos that I prayed. I know that some people are not religious. That's fine. I'm not like super religious. Like I said, I grew up in like a Catholic, I have Catholic education. So when I pray, I do tend to pray to Jesus. But I'm also extremely spiritual in other senses. Like, I follow a lot of like pagan practices and, Wiccan practices. So it's not what you pray to, it's not what you believe in, it's just that you believe in a power that's greater than you, because obviously what you have been doing has not worked. It's just basically like you co-sign the bullshit of another person and you're like enabling them, and it's like a downward spiral, which in turn forces you to kind of go down a downward spiral, and it just kind of really sucks. So definitely trying to establish that connection with a power greater than yourself, and just however long it takes, pray, talk to them, even like seek silence in nature. I'm reading a book called Why Be Happy, and it's about like the art of acceptance in Japanese culture. And we as American people, we are so quick to, everything is like go, 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 go. We always feel the need to do something about something, and like something has to be done. Japanese people, they practice the art of acceptance in numerous ways, and one of those ways being in just silence and nature. So even just going outside and disconnecting from all of your surroundings, whether you're at home, whether you're at work, it doesn't matter. Like, step outside and just be quiet. Be quiet for like a minute. If you can't be quiet and you can't get some solace for a minute, do it for 30 seconds. If not, do it for 15 seconds. You would be amazed what comes to you in moments of silence and in nature. That is exactly what I had to do at the end of my chaos in my codependency world. I literally left my house. I got into my car where it was completely silent, and I prayed and I listened. I listened to the silence around me. There may have been birds chirping outside, but I listened to it and I felt it. I felt it for what it was. And subliminal messages can come to you through silence and nature and things like that. And something clicked, in that moment, something clicked. It was just, let go. Just let go of it all. Stop trying to control. Stop trying to dictate. Let your life play out the way it is supposed to. That is the message that I got from sitting in silence. from then on, I just decided that, as hard as it was going to be, is I was going to get up every day. I was going to shower every day. I was going to get up every morning, have a cup of coffee, go outside, see what the weather was like, spend my brief time in nature, try to be a good parent, get my kids off to school and just live my life without having to check up on the addict, try to manipulate situations, try to, figure out what's going on, because we have no control. We have no control over anyone else except for ourselves. So that's what I did. I really took the focus off of the codependent situation and put it on myself. I, went and did things. I went and spent time with my family. I scheduled tattoo appointments. I took my kids out to eat. I did things by myself. And a lot of codependents, we're afraid of being alone. We're afraid of doing things by ourselves. We're afraid of just that emptiness, I guess. And that, again, they say that codependency stems from, early on in childhood, even as early as infancy. You could have developed codependency in the crib. Basically, what that can look like is you may have been a colicky baby or a finicky baby, a baby that cried a lot, and you cried a lot in your bassinet in your crib, and your parents let you cry it out. As crazy as that sounds, some parents actually do that. They let their babies cry. Or they stick a pacifier in their mouth in substitution for that human interaction, that human soothing interaction. And I think as babies and children that are not emotionally fully acknowledged, we develop our own defense. So what we learn when we're not emotionally acknowledged when we are babies and children is that our needs don't matter. That is a huge element of codependency, that we truly believe deep down that our needs don't matter, and that we constantly have to be caregivers to other people that we feel we need to take care of. But we don't matter. When it came down to my doctor's appointment or this said person having to go to the methadone program, I would forego my doctor's appointment to take said person to the methadone program. That is placing another person's needs above your own. I know that they say, which I completely think this is an extremely rude thing to say, is that nobody's going to love you until you love yourself. First of all, that's bullshit in a sense. No. People are going to love you, no matter what. But there is a little truth in the fact that we treat people how to treat us. So if we're not taking care of our needs, people are going to see that and they're going to think oh, okay, that's okay. Since she is not taking care of herself, she's going to put energy into taking care of me, per se. So a lot of people, especially people with mental illness, addiction issues, alcoholism, they don't have that mental capacity to really express empathy and to understand truly what they're doing. They just see it as okay, this is my go-to person that's going to help me. Me. Addiction, mental illness, and alcoholism, they're very, very cunning, baffling diseases, and they create selfish behaviors in people. So a lot of times codependents, people that have those things are attracted to codependent people because we are looked at as caretakers, even though we're not taking care of ourselves. So The only thing I know that really can lead you into recovery from codependency is detachment. Detachment is a very personal thing. When we hear the word detachment, we think of like physically detaching from a person or an object. Like I have said in a previous video, we can't all physically detach from our situations. Mine was a little different. Mine was a spouse. I could detach physically. But taking little things, like starting little rituals in your life that can help you move towards actual detachment could be, like I said, spending time in nature, whether it be 15 seconds or a minute, like just getting out and like disconnecting just for a period of time. You don't even have to like meditate. You can literally just go out and take in what's in, pay attention to the trees, pay attention to the birds. The cicadas are about to come out. I don't know if you're into that kind of thing, but I think they're kind of cool and they're weird. So I like weird things, and Christ, I mean, go out and like pay attention to the cicadas. I don't know. Take a minute in your car. Little things like that can promote I call it the art of detachment, because detaching is an art. It is extremely hard when you are programmed as a baby to want to intentionally help people. But we develop these mechanisms that, like I said, don't end up helping. They actually end up like enabling. It's very hard to disconnect from those patterns, and that's exactly what they are. They're patterns learned in early childhood. Think about it like if you're in pre-K and you learn adding and subtracting. When you're at the grocery store and you're adding up your budget, you're adding and you're subtracting and you're doing simple basic math. Things that are learned in early childhood. Now, when we're talking about codependency, it's a very emotional element to that. And then when we're babies, it's like we depend on our caretakers for emotional support. And when we don't get adequate emotional support, we shut out our own needs. To practice the art of detachment, it is detaching from the codependent behaviors and that comfort that we have seen in another person or another relationship. It's detaching from the comfort and then coming back around to us and develop and reattaching our comfort with ourselves. So, like I said, if as babies and we don't get that emotional support that we need, if we had an adult brain, we would say, okay, I'm going to self-soothe myself. If, I don't have this from my caregiver, I'm going to take care of myself. But as babies, we can't take care of ourselves. So in our brains, we develop what we call, some people call it stuffing. We stuff our problems and our needs down because no one pays attention to them anyways. Like I said, it's learned as a baby. So detachment, if you don't want to kind of like detach kind of thing, it almost to some people it sounds like a negative word, like you're detaching, like you're like detaching a body part, or like detaching a part of a car that like that's not going to work if you don't have it. If you don't want to see it as detachment, you can look at it in terms of reconnection with self. Again, what that can look like is spending time in nature, being silent for a little bit, and just listening and observing. I like to talk, okay? So, like, upon reading this Japanese the way of Japanese acceptance, in reading this book and, like, really taking into consideration that sometimes you just have to be quiet, like, that, like, blew me away, dude. I was like, whoa, like I love to talk. This is why I make these videos. But in the grand scheme of things, being silent and taking in what's around you and actually listening to other people talk and listening to birds and listening to sounds in nature can really help connect you to yourself. I've said it before, we're all connected. in my Earth Day video, I had said that, if you're not going to do something environmentally sustainable, do something for yourself, because we're connected to Earth. That is why I said the easiest way to start your recovery process is to go outside and be in nature. If you connect with nature, you can connect with yourself. That is a real thing. There's plenty of books on it. Like I said, the book I'm reading is called Why Be Happy, and it's the Japanese way of acceptance. That's a really good one. I don't know if I would recommend it if you're like early on in your recovery, because it is pretty complex and it does bring in elements of a different culture, when in reality, like, you probably want to focus on your own way of detachment or reconnecting with self, based on your own personal element, meaning the way of life in your country. But that is a book that later on you could probably explore, and it talks about, the Japanese way of, obtaining happiness. And through acceptance, we can achieve happiness. That's for a different video. Again, I wanted to talk about just detachment, and that is the way out of codependency. We will always be codependents. That is ingrained into our brain. But there are ways to manage those obsessions and compulsions, and that is through, again, connection with self, detachment from the codependent behaviors. Get out in nature. Talk to your higher power. I don't know. I don't care if it's the goddamn sparkling water. Whatever, what is the flying spaghetti noodle people? I don't know. Whatever takes you outside of yourself to a higher power, talk to that so you can reconnect with yourself. Trusting in a higher power and asking for direction, there's no problem with that. It could be journaling. A lot of people look at their higher power as the universe. I know some people look at the higher power as the moon or the sun. I mean, there are so many different entities or beliefs that you can adapt to get out of your own head, to surrender it to a higher power. But once you do that, you can start getting answers and reconnecting to yourself. So get outside in nature, talk to your higher power, and listen. Be silent for a little bit and listen. Really listen. Calm your mind. Like I said, it doesn't have to be meditation, but, I like to do yoga, even if it's like 10 to 20 minutes a day. I have great resources for that. I recommend just like typical like hatha yoga, because it's not like all weird. My therapist had recommended Kundalini yoga to me, and I tried it a couple times and I was like, whoa, what the fuck is this? Like, it was the weirdest shit ever. So I kind of just stuck with regular yoga. Afterwards, you do feel a sense of like energetic connection to the earth itself and to the universe and to your higher power. That can help you develop a sense of security in something other than yourself. So with that being said, be quiet, be silent for a little bit, listen to nature, get out in nature, and surrender. Just accept the fact that, like, you're fucked up and you've been enabling shitty behaviors that's spiraling yours into a hole. So you have to admit it, accept it for what it is, surrender it to a power greater than yourself, be quiet, listen to what's around you, get out in nature, and maybe that can help you start recovery. That's what helped me. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. It's theartofbutterflies@gmail.com. You can email me. I have like a Zoom account set up if you wanted to chat. I will definitely put in some good resources. Another thing I didn't talk about in this video that I wanted to talk about was Codependence Anonymous, which is another really good one in conjunction with Al-Anon and Nar-Anon, and I'll put that information at the bottom. We can talk more about that in another video, or if you wanted more information in depth, like I said, you can email me or message me if you're my friend on Facebook. But that concludes this video, and like I said, I have like ADHD brain, so I have all these ideas for videos up there. And they're going to get fun too. It's going to get like really cool. I know these couple videos have been like very like just, I don't even know, boring. But I like to get down to the root of things. I like to do the hard stuff first and get down to the root of things before I do like cool things. So, and like I said, I know that my experience, strength, and hope could probably help somebody. If it can reach one person, it can reach a bunch of people. And again, we can come together as a group of women and support each other. So if you have any ideas for me, or if you want to like collab with me and like make a video and like talk, or like I said, that podcast I'm trying to work out, just get at me. I'm super friendly, super like easy to talk to. I'm a little weird, but I'm there for you guys, and I appreciate you guys watching the videos. If you like my video, hit the like button and subscribe. See ya.